ahead, December 12th through December 18th, this Monday through Sunday. Give me one moment while I get everything pulled up. Get this pulled up on my phone so I can see everyone's comments. Please remember too that as we go through this, if you have any questions or any feedback, I will respond to comments that I get in this feed. However, it'll probably be between each day, so that way I don't lose my train of thought for the day that I'm on. So yeah, if you guys can hear me and see the screen okay, we will go ahead and get started. Okay, so today, Monday, December 12th. So it's 12/12. The moon is still in Leo, and this is representing. So remember, after the full moon, we are still in this 2 week cycle of releasing. Before we start the new cycle at the new moon in Capricorn. So now, as we're releasing while the moon is in Leo, we are doing it in a creative way. We are channeling these like frustrations, these pains, these stresses, everything that we've been going through, we are transmuting that into this creative energy. And when I say creative energy, I mean like however that is specifically to you. Everyone has differences in their creative energy, but it can just be as simple as creating a plan to move forward and getting creative with that plan, thinking outside of the box, stuff like that. And also taking pride for how far you've come and where you're at in this present moment and being proud of yourself. And that's going to help reinvigorate you and inspire you to move forward. So the moon is also making that trine aspect to Chiron. And again, with that pain, it's really about transmuting that pain. Chiron is the wounded healer, so it is about using those wounds and those pains in order to heal yourself and heal others. You should be learning lessons from these things, and those lessons carry you forward as well as help other people along their own path. The moon is also making a square aspect to the nodes. So I said be here in the now, and this is because again with these nodes, this is thinking about our past and where we've been and where we've come from, and this north node is thinking about the future and where we're all moving towards. And this is also all fixed energy, so this is about not getting fixated in the past or fixated in the future. It reminds me of the past, you know, if you get too stuck in what's happened in the past, that can depress you. And if you get too stuck in what's about to happen in the future, that can give you anxiety. So it's really all about being here in the present, in the now, and using those feelings that come up in the now, and transmuting those feelings into something. The sun is also making sextile aspect to Saturn. And remember, Saturn represents our rules, structure, responsibilities, time, things like that. However, when it is sitting in the sign of Aquarius, it is actually more about rebelling against those things that are no longer working and building new structures and new plans to go forward in a more efficient kind of way, right? In a way that is more uniquely suited to you. So, we're feeling a little bit more optimistic about that, feeling a little bit more optimistic about our responsibilities. This is also about like playing with our responsibilities, like not like shifting our perspective from what our responsibilities look like. Is it something that's stagnant, boring, like brings you no pleasure or joy? Like how can you bring more pleasure and joy into those daily monotonous things that you have to do? Okay, so the tarot for today is the first card is the Three of Fates. And this is all about karma, burning through karma and starting over again, getting that, realizing that you always have a chance to start over. I think I've talked about this in the past, but like sometimes, you know, you think of every day as a new day, but then if you mess up at the beginning of the day, then you're like, well, this whole day went to shit. That's not true. You know, you can reel that into like maybe every hour. So like if you mess up, take an hour to grieve your mess up or to process your feelings or to meditate or to ground yourself, and then next hour is a new start, right? Like you always get a new start. As long as you're alive, you always have room to improve yourself and to move forward and to create new karma and to burn through old karma as well, right? So this is about like also, when it comes to fateful moments, like things that happen today could be fateful for you. It could kind of like change the course of your life. Um, the people and situations that you come into today might be fateful situations that are really helping you and aiding you along. We also got the Two of Wands reversed, and like, okay, when the Two of Wands is upright, it's really about looking at the path ahead of you and observing that path ahead of you, and it's about deciding as well as whether you're like going to stay where you're at or whether you're going to move forward or whether you're going to go to this other place. So when it's reversed, you could either be stuck in like over analyzing the future. So again, with that getting stuck in the future, you could be full of anxiety, or you could also be looking at the past and like, well, this is all the ways that I failed in the past or all the ways that this didn't work out in the past. And realize that that's just keeping you stuck, right? Like he's not going anywhere. He's just standing there. He's looking at the world, but he's not making a decision. And remember that no decision is still a decision. So that's what I feel called to say about this. I will go ahead and read the message for that Three of Fates card as well. It says, you may have been enjoying your own life's reruns lately, wallowing through the memories and feeling sad, bittersweet, and nostalgic about the good old days, whenever they were exactly. You know what? It's fine to muse on the past. Your memories are precious and do need to be tended. But it's another thing altogether to be filled with regret, wishing you'd done things differently. Life is a constant do-over. You get a fresh chance every second you are alive. So stop beating yourself up. You have an opportunity to heal, to clear, to no longer feel sad about the same thing anymore. You can do things differently. You are not a prisoner of how they have always been done. What you have done, even if you judge it to be a mistake, can be reworked and learned from. That is its wisdom. You are not alone. We all have karmic lessons, themes, stories that seem to repeat. Learn from this. Be aware of what is taking place as a fateful encounter to master life. I like that with that fateful encounter. If you take this approach, you'll be all the richer for learning, wise, free, and able to help others too. And going forward in the week, I feel like the first part of this week is really like that, wrapping things up in this healing journey that we've been in. And I think later in the week we're gonna be facing a lot of people that need our help and need our wisdom and insight. So be sure, of course, that you're taking care of yourself first. And I think that's the message of this week. The beginning of this week is really about taking care of yourself first, because as the week moves forward, we really want to be shining our light brightly and be doing our light worker duties, basically, for all the people around us. Kendra, I'm having trouble hearing you. Oh no. Okay, I can turn my volume up, and if you can let me know if that's getting any better as I turn my volume up. Or can you not hear me at all? Can anyone else that's watching chime in too and see if, like, is everyone having trouble hearing me? Let me make sure this is good. Hmm. I can hear you, it's just very low and my volume is all the way up. Okay, I will turn myself up. Okay. Okay. All right, I turn myself up as loud as I can. All right, so let's move on to Tuesday, tomorrow. So, the moon is still in Leo, but moving towards its later degrees, and it's going to make an opposition to Saturn, and it's also going to trine the sun in Sagittarius. And so I wrote here, don't let the responsibilities take you out of creation mode. And I also wrote balance of feminine and masculine because remember, we are transmuting these pains, these things that we've been through into creative energy. We're having pride for where we've come from and where we're going. And we are seeing our responsibilities in such a way that allows us to see clearly what needs to change, what kind of old way of doing things needs to be rebelled against. But we're not letting that take us out of this creative mode. And balance of feminine and masculine comes in because moon is feminine and the sun is masculine, and they're making a trine aspect to each other. So this is like, um, the more creative and intuitive side of you coming together with the more logical and responsible side of yourself to make things actually happen. Like you need both. This can also be you relying on people, like maybe you're really feeling that lack of one energy or the other. And so it's like finding ways to incorporate that energy more to bring balance about, as well as like maybe reaching out to people in your life who you think, um, what is the word I'm looking for? That you think basically has that energy that you need to kind of like rely upon right now, if that makes sense. And there's not really a lot else going on with this day that really jumps out to me. Um, I just think this is a great day to be getting like your emotions along with your ego, along with like your path moving forward, getting more structure in your life, seeing things more clearly, and working our way towards balance because that we're going to also be moving into more balancing as the week goes on. Also, too, I want to say that there's something about being creative with our responsibilities. You know, like I said too, like how can you bring more inspiration and pleasure and fun and creativity into your everyday responsibilities? How can you take more pride in your everyday responsibilities? Because if you're constantly doing something that your feelings are important basically, and if you're constantly doing things that are making you feel ways you don't want to feel, then that isn't going to be sustainable. And this whole phase we're going through with this north node in Uranus and Taurus and Saturn in Aquarius, this is really about building sustainability for the future. Unique sustainability. Like individualism, right? Like you as a sovereign being, what works best for you. There's all sorts of help out there, there's all sorts of advice, there's all sorts of mentors, there's all sorts of, online classes, and there's all sorts of things out there that you can do. But you have to make sure that it works right for you. Some things out there that might be working great for other people might not work for you. And so you need to be mindful of that and not let your responsibilities take you out of that other side of you that's more feminine. Okay. So the tarot for tomorrow is first of all the Nautilus Princess, and again, this is really about personal growth. We are really finishing up this cycle in our own evolution and growth and getting through the end of this like shadow work and these triggers and these things that come up in life that keep trying to knock you back down. Think of all the things that you have tried to sustain that you've been diligently putting your energy and work towards, and maybe you're getting frustrated at this point that things still aren't coming to fruition as you would like to see. Um, but you have a lot of power, and everything happens in divine time, exactly the way that it's supposed to. And a lot of these transits, a lot of the collective energy is really a test to faith and a test to your intuition. So, I think that this is a lot about just like continuing to stay on this path and not be wavered out of what you know. And I don't mean just like no in your head, I mean no, mind, body, spirit, you know it. Also, with the Six of Cups reverse, it's once again not a time to be stuck in the past. However, you can use the past to move you forward, right? Like we said with these Chiron aspects, like depending on how you look at your life, depending on the perspective that you take on your life, which, by the way, can be changed at any minute, any day. You can change your perspective on the things that have already occurred. However, you decide to look at that can aid you in moving forward. Your perspective on the past greatly determines your future. All right, so let's read the message in this card. Okay. You may be a very gentle, appeasing, and timid soul who is facing a challenge. You are being asked by the universe to step up into a more senior and conspicuous role. You are concerned about whether you can be powerful and still be a good person. The pearls here signify that you must act from a pure place and from a natural place, and treat this quest as a sacred task. The Nautilus says you will grow in ways that are perfect and perfectly proportioned, just as the Nautilus is. And this is a natural result for you. Expect to grow more and more over time. This is a time of spiritual and emotional transformation, which could come to you via a friend who is older or more experienced. She will share her skills and some of her secrets with you. You could be about to experience a deeper friendship, meet a teacher who really opens your mind to a new realm of discovery, or find a trainer who can coach you in such a way that your potential blooms strong and fast. You may be about to get an after school job that pays good money, and you'll be asked to step up and deal with the new abundance in healthy ways. There will be responsibility and rapid growth. Dignity, truth, and wisdom are your best guides. It is now time to take yourself and your potential seriously. Now, remember, when we talk about learning new things or finding new trainers or mentors, we are still in this Sagittarius cycle, right? And that is all about learning, and that is all about higher learning and this meta path that you're trying to attain, and like all the things that come along with that. We're sometimes getting wrapped up in the amount of information that comes through, but ultimately, as long as we know in the bigger picture where we're going, these little details naturally kind of fall into place. Your intuition gets stronger and you start to discern this information a bit better. You know, like, is this little bit of information, is this tidbit of information, does it go along with that meta goal? Does it go along with that bigger picture of where I'm going? And yes or no determines whether you decide to store that information somewhere in your mind or whether you discard it, right? Um, and also, you know, the talk about like growing in a spiral rather than a circle. These things come back around, you face them from a higher perspective, and that's ultimately the goal. So don't be too hard on yourself. Like, just because things repeat doesn't mean that you are like not growing, right? Everyone's always growing. Like, even when you look around at the people you know and you think like, oh man, that person just really isn't going anywhere in life, or they're really not growing anyway. That's not true. Like, they're growing, but they're growing in their own way, which can be vastly different from the way that you're growing, and that's fine. So don't let them hold you back. You just keep growing. Okay, let me think if there's anything else I want to say. And I mean, you know, like with this guy here on this tarot card, he's really like, he's taking all that he's grown and he's giving it to this other person. Like, is what you're growing, is what you have grown thus far in your life worthy of giving back? That might be something you need to assess at this time as well. Because if you've been putting your energy towards something for a very long time and you're just kind of spinning your wheels and it's not getting you anywhere, then again, it might be time to assess that. Like, is this something I want to move on from? Like, is this the thing that's keeping me stuck right now? Okay, Wednesday. At this point, the moon moves into Virgo, And so when it comes to how we are releasing and ridding things of our in our life, we're doing it in a more practical and organized way at this point in time. And also this will be about the time where health related things come up. Um, the way that you serve yourself and others, how full your cup is, how open your heart chakra is, stuff like that. And the more that we like tend to and care for our bodies and our homes and our work, the more that those things become abundant. And when things become abundant, then they kind of just like overflow. They pour out effortlessly. They are infinite at that point. But you have to have that perspective of abundance, and you have to think infinitely, right? You can't keep closing yourself off to things. So also on this day, the sun is going to make a square aspect to Neptune. And I said beware of ego delusions because the sun really represents our egoic side. And when it's making this friction aspect to Neptune in Pisces, which remember was in retrograde and came out of retrograde last week, a lot of like truths are being revealed, and some of those things can be a trigger to your ego. So also be assessing that. Like, is this me or is this my ego talking to me? About these things coming up or being revealed. It could also be a really great day for like epiphanies, insights, downloads from your spirit guides and your more spiritual side. But this is really all about asking you to observe where your ego deludes you. Also, Mercury is going to be making a square to Chiron. I want to say like words are important. I put words can heal a wound, which is true. Other people's words have wounded us in the past. And if we don't heal from those things, we can in turn use our own words to wound others. However, also within the way that we think and the way that we speak manifests our reality. And that's another big aspect here with this Neptune square to our ego as well, right? Because like let's say that we're lonely and we want to be in the company of other people. Sometimes our ego will encourage us to be a baby about it and to beg for attention or just do things to get attention. And usually this comes unconsciously, right? Like your subconscious kind of just acts out like a toddler, and you're just like I'm sure if you kind of look back on your life and you've had those moments, you're like, why did I do that? Like, why did I act like that? That's a good example of your ego just kind of running amok and you not having control over it, right? But like, if we really want company, if we really need attention, then if we maybe acted in a way like, for instance, self-care, um, journaling, is a good way. Like if you need someone to talk to and you don't have anyone to talk to, or you don't want to spew your bad mood onto other people, journaling is a good option for that. Or if you're needing, like, if you, whatever your love language is, honestly, like whatever your love language is, if you can give that back to yourself, then you are acting as if, right? Like you are putting yourself in that vibe, in that place, in that energy of getting that attention or giving yourself that attention that you deserve. And then again becomes abundant, it grows, it becomes infinite, and then you start to see those things around you in your reality. And that is the lesson of our spiritual side, honestly. It's like, how can we take these bigger meta spiritual things and embody them and transmute them down into our bodies and into the earth and make them reality? Um, okay, so also Mercury, we already talked about that. Okay, yep, so this is it for Wednesday. Let's move on to the tarot. So then we got the Sewer Mermaid, which is really all about, again, loving yourself in the physical form. And I use the Virgo moon to clean up your act, right? So like this is like, if you've been getting sick a lot lately, that might come to a head once Wednesday rolls around. So this could be like, how can you get back to your health? Drinking more water, eating better, taking more breaks, meditating to get rid of your stress. I had this whole visualization earlier of like I just feel so much stress in the collective for like weeks now. And so I got this whole visualization as I was meditating earlier of just kind of like taking all of that stress, all of that baggage, all of that pain, all of that hurt, and just like channeling it to the palms of my hands and then like placing that down on the floor and like transmuting that, right? Like giving that energy away out of me. It does no good being in my body. It does no good being in your body. We need to get rid of it. Detox, right? Detoxify yourself spiritually, mentally, physically. Then we also got the world card. I put time to start planning for the new world. Everything comes together in divine timing. So kind of like we talked about with this Nautilus princess, right? Like we grow in ways that are divine to our path. So we never need to be hard on ourselves about how much we're growing because we're always growing in ways that we're meant to be growing. However, we are getting to a point now where that divine timing is coming around for this new world to start. I want to talk more about what's coming up in spring of 2023 because a lot of things up there in the heavens are going to be shifting. And a lot, you can see it around you in the world, right? Like, even if you turn on the news for 5 fucking seconds, you're gonna see about 25 different crazy, insane, mind blowing news stories of what's going on out there in the world. Some of you, you know, might have your friends blowing up your phone like, oh, this happened and then that happened and then this happened, and like it's like, wow, there's a lot going on out there, you know. So I think that we are kind of hitting that last push and that last squeeze and that last bit of pressure for this way that things used to be. And that's because we're entering into this new world and this new way of being and this new way of seeing our reality, honestly. And so, um, right now is just a really great time to start to be like taking care of yourself and shedding that old skin and like realizing that this new skin is something that's uncomfortable and something you're not quite used to yet. So take care of it and nourish it and give it the love it deserves. So that way you're best prepared to handle what's coming next. All right, now Thursday. Okay, so Thursday, the moon is still in Virgo, but now it's going to be moving a bit forward and making its square to Mars, which is like this mutable energy, right? And then it's also going to oppose Neptune, more mutable energy. And then it's also going to, I guess, that's later, so we'll stop there. Um, this is all about like that go with the flow energy. This whole time in the Sagittarius season is like highly spiritual. And I wrote here too, true perfection comes from the heart and is divinely purposed. And I think that I we get sometimes when Virgo moons come across or any Virgo kind of energy, especially when we I also have this trine, you know, to the north node. So we're really kind of like getting this pressure. But I put okay, the way that I want to say this is like if you think of like societal standards for what success looks like, and if you're always chasing that, you might accomplish it, and people might be proud of you, and they might go, wow, look at you. You conquered what society deems as successful. Good job. You know, high five, gold star. But on the inside, it's not going to feel great. It's going to feel like shit because it's not full of passion and purpose for you. And so, then again, if you're following your passions, if you're following your heart's desires, it might be a sloppy road and people might judge that and people might criticize that. But it's ultimately about not listening to the criticism which tells you to not follow your heart. I mean, constructive criticism is another thing, but the kind of criticism that tells you shouldn't do what is in your heart's desire to do, then don't do it, right? Like, don't listen to that. Because that's not what's going to feel good. But you can use this Virgo moon of striving for perfectionism to to push you forward where you're trying to go. We also have a yod this day. Now a yod, I like that I can use my handy dandy little arrow here to show you what that looks like. So a yod is when we have this sextile aspect, which is happening between Mercury and Capricorn and the South Node in Scorpio, and then it makes two quincunx. I hate that word though. Quincunx aspects to Mars in Gemini retrograde. So it looks like this triangle here, right? And they call it a yod. Sometimes they call it the finger of God. But what I wrote about this is that the slow and steady climb towards what takes priority, and that is healing anything that resurfaces during the climb. Because of this, I wrote that because there's also this square to Chiron over here. Um, So remember with Mercury, with Mercury and Capricorn, we're thinking in a more structured way. We're getting organization over our thoughts, which is really greatly aiding in this Mars retrograde as well, because Gemini rules Mercury, so Mercury is a heightened, and we are taking a lot of this like information internally, and so we're taking that information inwardly and then organizing it within ourselves. Um, you know how like when you're studying and a certain memory will like trigger that thing that you need to remember. So like for instance, I don't know how I can explain this. Like times in the past when I have been studying for a test or exam, if I need to remember a term, I will somehow relate that term to something else I remember and kind of like form that mental string between the two things so that way I remember it more easily. That's the kind of energy going on right now is we're really getting some organization in our head. And so as we're doing that, sometimes old things can kind of keep coming back and resurfacing, which we've talked about a lot in the last few months, honestly. And a lot of this stuff is like, since it's like this South Node and Scorpio energy, a lot of this stuff that comes back is subconscious stuff. It is like shadow work stuff. Um, like unconscious bias kind of comes up to me as well. So, as we're like taking this like slow and steady practical climb towards things, when those things come up, box them away somewhere. If there is a memory that has that mental string attached and you don't want that thing to keep coming back up and triggering you again, snip that mental cord, you know? Don't apply energy to it anymore. Let it, like, you know how in the summer months you forget everything you learned in the previous school year? Like, use that energy. And isn't that funny? Because when that happens, it's because you're having so much fun and you're chasing your heart's desires and you're getting creative and all that thing and all that stuff. So, all that boring shit that you didn't have any care to learn about in the first place from the previous school year just falls right out your head. You can do the same thing with negative thoughts and beliefs in those patterns that keep resurfacing. All right, so the tarot, you got sweet memories, changing your perspective on how you view your past, your story, and your karma. Ooh, and this also just made me think too when I talk about like those mental strings. If you've ever had, I think it's called EMDR therapy. That is kind of what that's like, right? Like they take these traumatic experiences that you've been through, they find that string, that mental string, and they figure out how to make it they figure out how to shift your perspective on that thing to either like lighten the intensity of that particular trauma or to change your perspective on it altogether so you can see it in a new light and it doesn't hold power over you anymore. So that's what that's really about. Um, and also, with your karma, like sometimes with all the karma that you go through in your life, and this is like your karma also, but also it's like your ancestral karma. It's like you didn't choose the family you were born into, and sometimes we have to carry their karma around as well. And if we wallow in that and take pity on ourselves for that, then that's the perspective reviewing it from. But if we look at it as like, being a badass, breaking a cycle, breaking that karmatic pattern within your family that's going to change future generations. If you're like, wow, I'm so grateful that I got to learn these lessons along the way, then you're going to lessen the intensity of those things. Okay, also Five of Pentacles. The old structures are gone. You are building new ones. Get used to your new skin. Feel out for your support and stability. So, like, as you are the new you, who are the people around that match this new you? And how can you be, like, taking it easier on yourself and giving yourself a lot of love and comfort and care for this, like, this new being that you are? How does this new being act, behave, think, speak, love, communicate? All right, let's read the message of this card. You may soon be experiencing little reminders of some of the sweetest, most fun, and uplifting times in your life. The kind that have no great significance historically, but in the story that is your life, they are pivotal moments. It could be seeing a rainbow, a star shining bright, or a photograph of your father holding you closely in his arms, or receiving the knowledge and sudden realization that something you did made a large and meaningful difference to someone else's life. You have so many jewels. It's time to sift through the precious moments in memory, and by honoring these and feeling them again, change the present for the better. The magic of your sweetest memories will be worked into the present moment, and your current struggle will be momentarily relieved. And that transcendent feeling of being one with all that is will return, giving you the strength to go on and do what must be done. Again, like, you're seeing things either as dragging you down or inspiring you to move forward. Okay, Friday. The moon will oppose Jupiter and then move into Libra. So, like, while it's in its last little moments of Virgo, it's going to make this. Where am I at? Oh, okay. It's going to make this opposition to Jupiter here, and then it will move into Libra. And when it moves into Libra again, we're back in this balancing act, this bringing like peace and harmony and justice to any situations that still need it. When it makes this opposition to Jupiter, I love that because first of all, the sun cycle we're in right now rules Jupiter, and Jupiter also rules expansion and luck and higher learning. So I think that we're going to kind of have maybe expanding emotions around these situations that have come up, and we're going to be able to kind of see things from a higher emotional perspective. And so I love that for us. And then right afterwards, I think that's going to give you kind of this like, aha, now I know exactly how to bring this back into equilibrium, how to bring more peace into my life, how to feel more of the feelings I want to feel, basically. And the tarot we got for this day is get natural, bring this balance and peace to the natural world, and give love to Mother Earth. I'm actually going to read this too because, like I said, I feel like after Fridays when we really start shifting into this like giving back energy. So I want to stress importance on that. I don't know why I feel this way, but I do. I just do. So I think that like starting Friday and over the weekend, it's really going to be a lot about others and not so much about ourselves anymore. So these weekdays are kind of our last little push to be doing the best we can with this work that we've been doing on ourselves for so long, and really figure out how to bring that to a closed chapter. Okay, where's Friday? There we go. Take time to grow plants or tend a vegetable patch or an herb garden. Look into contributing some money or time or devotion to a cause for the green world. The natural forests and the wide green spaces of the planet need your healing, kind and tending hand and heart now. Your influence will have great power. Make a donation to a wildlife foundation for the green world. Look into establishing a grove or visiting a forest, and offer your energetic support and prayers for a world where green spaces thrive and where the wild creatures of the green woods continue to live in their own environment. See and visualize a world where green things grow, and the fairy of the green world will know that nature is safe while there are ones such as you in this world. It is a time for growth, for abundance, for the earth element to find its way true and strong in your beautiful life. Eat organic food, go raw, detox, find a water source and cleanse it. Be more self sustaining and step away from the unnatural system and join with the natural energies of the planet and the galaxy. I really, really love this because we've already really talked about like our perspective on things and how that manifests our reality. And it goes the same with the collective. If every single person in the collective starts to believe that the world is going to end, then we are creating that in our reality. So as long as there are still people out there having faith, healing, giving back, spreading their light, spreading their word, being unique, being creative, they are essentially the backbone of what is giving anyone hope, right? To move forward in the future, especially in a time where hope is a really lacking feeling out there. We also got the chariot reversed. How can you do your part to nurture and carry the collective into the new world that awaits us? So, as we start moving into the new year, January, as well as the new astrological year in the spring, which is when we have Pluto shifting into Aquarius and Saturn shifting into Pisces, and we start to see these really big collective shifts. What part are you going to play in that? All this work you've been doing on yourself, how can you use that to start constructing this new plan moving forward with this new world? Because all of a sudden everyone's perspectives are going to start shifting on what does success mean, right? Like, what is money, what is value, what is technology, what is our opinion on it, what about politics, what about globalization? Like, all these things are going to start just really like, boom boom boom, happening, and it's like, if you're still trying to live life the way that people were 50, 60 years ago, you're going to find yourself being shifted and that disconnect growing even bigger between what you're trying to make happen versus like what reality is actually shifting towards at this time. So, the chariot wants to move forward. Don't stop yourself. Saturday. So now the Libra moon is going to oppose Chiron. Where are we at? Okay, sorry. So it's going to oppose Chiron, and then it's also going to make a trine aspect to Mars, and then wait, what? Did I say oppose? Okay, not oppose Saturn. It's not going to oppose Saturn. It's going to trine Saturn. And so we really want to start balancing that responsibility to heal ourselves with also the responsibility to heal others. So this might be a time where it's like if you've been in hermit mode working on yourself, you might start to reach out more. Um, Slowly, of course, but we're starting to kind of bring into balance some of those more excessive energies that have been at play for a while. And this is also when, like, like I talked about with this being the wounded healer, Chiron being the wounded healer. It's wounded, but it's also a healer, right? So, like, I can just tell the story of Chiron. So Chiron is a centaur who was shot with a poisonous arrow, and he pulls this arrow out, but the poison makes it to where this wound never fully heals. So he goes on this lifelong journey to try to find a cure for his wound, and he never finds a cure. However, because of this journey that he went on, he becomes a very like wise and skilled doctor, and there in turn he's able to heal a bunch of other people. So that is like the archetypal lesson with this. And we want to really bring that into balance though, because if we're always healing other people and not taking time to heal ourselves, then that's not okay. But if we're always healing ourselves and we're never getting over that healing phase to go out there and heal other people, then that is also not okay. So this is really asking you to bring that into balance and also bring your responsibilities into balance with everything else in your life, with having fun, with pleasure, with all those things, right? Mercury also makes a trine aspect to Uranus. And so on this day, we're going to start thinking and communicating in a very like forward, future oriented way. And some of these ideas and the ways that we communicated might be kind of unconventional at this point in time. But remember, everything that's making us uncomfortable right now is actually building towards a more sustainable and comfortable future. So it might be uncomfortable now, but getting uncomfortable now helps you build more comfort and security for future you, for higher self you. Okay, so the Saturn Tarot is the Sea Beacon Fairy. And it says, not all advice is right for you. Better to be in tune with your inner guidance than relying solely on the exterior world. So again, while we've had this all this Pisces energy going on, we're really helping to build and amplify our connection with spirit, our connection with our higher self, and those realities of that situation rather than delusions of escapism and stuff like that. And so some things might come forward and you have to really test your new discernment skills at this point in time. You also got the Seven of Cups, which to me just kind of signifies like a lot of options ahead of you, a lot of things you can decide on, a lot of abundance in front of you. But you're going to have to pick something, basically. And you have to construct a plan towards that. Like, it's like if you have all these things in front of you, like let's say you have 5 different job offers and you're like, oh, I have 5 different job offers, that's cool, and you're not really making a decision on which job offer you're going to take, then how the hell are you supposed to construct a plan, right? Like, how are you supposed to plan for your future if you're not making a decision about what your future is going to be? So you really have to grab on to one of those things, and you have to use your intuition and your inner guidance to help you make that decision. Let's read this card. A perfect solution to a problem has been presented to you, but whether it is wise to take it is another thing altogether. You may have more resources and opportunities than you are aware of or than you are allowing yourself to believe in. Do not be too quick to follow the first opportunity that comes. Wait and check both your sources and your inner wisdom. There are many paths and many solutions. Not all advice will be right for you. So again, like also if you decide to not take a job offer because it doesn't align completely with your heart's desires, don't beat yourself up and think like, oh, well, now I just took the only job offer I'm ever gonna get in my whole life. Like, is that really true? No, that's your delusion again. So there's that discernment again. No, there will always be other job offers, right? So, like, pick the one that really aligns with you. Don't just jump on the first thing out of desperation. Sunday. So the moon is still in Libra and it's going to enter Scorpio later in the evening hours on this day. And while it's in Libra, it's going to make this square aspect over to Pluto. So I put, don't let the desire for peace halt your transformation, because while this moon in Libra, we are really like emotionally searching for peace and comfort and balance. But don't also, again, remember we're still transforming into this new reality. So like, let's say one of your patterns that you're breaking is being a people pleaser. Don't take this moment to step back into that people pleasing role just to keep the peace. Venus also makes a square to Chiron. So again, now we're also bringing back in more like relational aspects back into this collective feel, a lot thinking again about um, other people. And so while we're still going through this like healing um, journey and transformation, be mindful of how others are triggering these wounds, but also on this day could be very healing within relationships. If there's people in your life you haven't talked to in a long time, I feel like basically since Mars entered Gemini, everyone has felt very overwhelmed and exhausted. And we've also, like I said, with it being in retrograde, we've really been looking at like what do we have the time and energy for and what don't we. So that could have been causing a lot of people to just kind of like hermit up and close themselves off and go inward and think more individualistically about what they need to be healing and stuff. We're starting to get some kind of like nudge towards like what that's going to look on the other side of this. But since we are still in that inward thing, we can really learn from those external things and how they are feeling from inside. So, like for instance, if someone says something, you notice this emotion bubbling up, it's gonna give you a lot of insight and wisdom to like what that's trying to teach you. Is that your shadow or their shadow? Is that something that hasn't been healed yet? All sorts of stuff comes up with that. And the tarot for Sunday. So we got Ghosts of the Pumpkin Patch. What are you grateful for? Focus energy towards all that you have already built in your life. And then also the Ace of Wands, new inspiration towards your projects and endeavors. So Ace of Wands is always a fun card. So that's great for Sunday. Like you might get this just like new epiphany, um, especially with that relational aspect to it, kind of makes me think like you might find that spark again. That really helps heal these relationships. Stuff like that could come up on Sunday, but we will go ahead and read this card meaning as well. Something precious is all about you, but has become so familiar you can barely see it anymore. It is such a fixture in your life that familiarity is bred, if not contempt, a kind of blindness. The beautiful little girl ghost in the pumpkin patch asks you very gently to see the abundance all around you, and to appreciate that while you are in physical form, there is so much you can enjoy. She wishes for you to harvest what is yours now and to also take steps to call in any debts. There can be outstanding money issues associated with this card. And share the bounty. Do not let anyone cheat you, and know that you don't owe a single or you don't own a single thing in truth. It will all pass through your hands, but still, ironically, these things you have earned through your hard work are worth protecting. They are not too small, they are not too ordinary. You have more material wealth than you think, so please do count your blessings every day. And you guys, this is why I think that inward discernment and intuition is so fucking important, because everything like contradicts itself, like, well, we really want to be this loving being that infinitely loves everyone around us, but we still need boundaries, like everything kind of contradicts itself. And so as all these contradictions come up, you have to really like siphon that through all of your energy centers and really feel it out, and decide which one, right? Is this a time where boundaries are needed, or is this a time where I need to be pouring more love into this person, or being more selfless? Do I need to be more selfish? Do I need to be more selfless, right? Do I need to take this job or that job? Do I need to spend more time with this kid or that kid, right? Like, it's all about that discernment. And that's where true responsibility comes in. That Saturn placement is when you do that. Because that's how your whole life is going to be structured in a way that's unique for you and your family and your loved ones and your family and your friends and everyone that's in your circle and in your life. That's how you orchestrate this whole dance that works efficiently. Okay, every week that I do these, I try to like add something new. So this week I decided to also take a picture of the entire spread for the whole week, kind of laid out in front, and then also pulled three signifier cards to kind of like summarize the whole week. Um, Kind of want to take a moment to feel this out as well. I really like here too how like the world is here, like almost signifying this like completion. And then here is the Ace of Wands, right? Starting new. And I also feel like this whole week is still kind of a time of this like in between stage of this old and new. We're still working out some loose ends here. And I really think we're balancing out our care for ourselves and our care for others. So the reverse cards that we have here is the page, and also notice too, I thought this was cool. Like these are all like, this is page and then queen queen. So this is powerful. This is a powerful week is what I want to say. So the Page of Wands reverse is to not just jump on any opportunities until you've checked with your guides, your trusted loved ones, and any mentors in your life, until you've siphoned it through those energy centers, and then you can be at peace that you're making the best decision that's divinely guided and in alignment with your heart. So I do have a feeling that a lot of external stuff, more external stuff is going to be coming at us this week. Things are going to be happening. Queen of Swords reverse is receiving the cold but honest truth. So be aware of that too, especially when we get more towards the end of the week and a lot more relationship stuff starts coming up again. Um if you're triggered by something again, like is it a projection or is it constructive criticism? And again, that's going to take you discerning to know that. And then Queen of Wands reverse. So I like this one too. You know there is a fire within you. You will let it transform you. Are you going to let it transform you or consume you? And then also to ask for help. So like as we're moving towards a more external place, there's going to be options. There's going to be people you can reach out to, people that you can rely upon, people that want to help you. And also, you might be feeling the call more to be helping other people as well. But if you're not following your heart's desire, like let's say that all day long you dream of painting, but you keep not painting because you're just so consumed with all these responsibilities that are more than likely coming from, again, these old societal patterns of like, well, you need to be doing your dishes and cleaning your house and going to work and whatever, all these things that aren't you picking up a paintbrush and painting, or you keep telling yourself you don't have time to do it, or you keep making all these excuses, or you keep not prioritizing it. That is still a fire burning within you, and it will consume you if you don't allow it out, if you don't start giving it the attention it deserves. So, yeah, I think that's all I want to say. Let me look at the comments. Sorry, guys. Okay, I'm glad that my volume got better. Kendra, these thoughts bombard my head a lot lately. I'm ready for moving forward. Yes, for sure. But this Gemini energy has been rough for everyone I know. Meditation is so fucking important right now. We really need to be detoxing our mind continuously of all of these thoughts and be mindful of, like, how we're consuming energy out there in the world. And I know I sound like a broken record with all of that. Um, and Mermaid Luna tarot readings. Okay. Whatever. All right, so the quote, and I use like a random quote generator, by the way, for this, guys. So I just kind of take it as divine. I love quotes. Okay. Only those who will risk going too far can possibly find out how far one can go, right? Like those trailblazers. And I really like this one because that's another thing that's coming up, like not this coming week, but the week after. Jupiter is going to move back into Aries again. And remember all the times I sounded like a broken record talking about fortune favors the bold? Well, we're going to be back to that energy again. So, again, we're coming out of this kind of like inward healing, individual healing kind of phase. And then it's going to be back to that like go getter kind of feel. Um, so while you're contemplating and dreaming and using Jupiter to receive these insights and these downloads and this information from your higher self and connecting with spirit and everything, go big with that. Like go as big as you can, expand out as far as you possibly can. And then you're really gonna like with the Capricorn energy on top of it, you're gonna see like the way to that big thing. Like It's not impossible. You're going to see that. You're going to see, wow, this isn't impossible. I can make steps towards this. All right, guys, that's it. So thank you so much for coming. And I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to break this down into daily segments so that way you guys can have this daily as well. I do just want to say that if you go to my page and look at my pinned posts, you will see the specials that I have going on right now. Also, see my Facebook group pinned above and join that. Uh, if you're already in the Facebook group, take advantage of it. Start posting things, start interacting. I really made that group because I want to be able to interact with everybody. And also, this, just keep in mind, this is a general reading. If you would like a personal reading, please send me a message or book at my website, which is also in the description box above. So that's it for me, guys. I hope you all are having a wonderful time and I hope you have a wonderful week ahead. Please reach out to me if you need anything at all. And I love you guys. And I'm so grateful for everything and all the opportunities that have come my way and taking this risk in business and balancing out my own feminine and masculine energies, right? Because, like, I have the hardest time sometimes with, like, the more left side brain stuff when it comes to running a business. But, you know, those slow steps, right? So, like, we're getting there. And I really appreciate all of your guys' support along this journey. So, thank you.